I've brought in the perfect person to review the first episode, her anti-woke sister, Samantha Markle, who joins me live from the US. Samantha, I have to say, this was one of the most nauseating, horrible things I've ever had to listen to in my entire life.
Did you ever truly believe Meghan Markle's carefully curated narrative? For years, her public image was presented as impeccably polished, a linear ascent from a bright high school student in Los Angeles, through a transformative gap year of self-discovery, to a prestigious Northwestern University education, and finally, her poised entry into the acting world. It was a biography marketed as clean, aspirational, and utterly devoid of hidden complexities. But what if that entire story, every perfectly placed detail, was a meticulously constructed illusion? Samantha Markle, her estranged half-sister, has now unleashed a bombshell claim that threatens to shatter this spotless facade with a single devastating assertion, suggesting that the life millions believed was predictable and open was in fact a profound lie. This isn't just family drama. It's a direct challenge to the very foundation of Meghan's public identity.
Samantha, that your sister tried to make out that she's some sort of repressed victim.
Well, you know, I gotta say, I think I'm in agreement with the world.
The revelation is nothing short of shocking. Meghan, it is now alleged, was not only married long before her widely publicized union with Trevor Engelson, but also a mother, purportedly pregnant, and having a child even before she ever stepped foot onto a Hollywood set. At first whisper, such a claim sounds impossible, even cruel, a rumor designed purely to inflict maximum damage. Yet, when one meticulously scrutinizes Meghan's official timeline, a gaping, unexplained 12-month black hole emerges, stretching mysteriously between 1994 and 1995. It is within this unsettling silence this missing year that Samantha Markle vehemently insists the truth lies: a secret Las Vegas wedding, a swiftly sealed annulment, and a child allegedly raised under the roof of another family. Online sleuths have been quick to highlight the glaring contradictions with Meghan's own words, where she famously described her gap year as a period of expansive travel and profound self-exploration. However, no classmates recall her embarking on any trips abroad. No exchange programs bear her name, and conspicuously, no photographs have ever surfaced of a young Meghan exploring Europe or South America, the very kind of vivid, shareable memories reviewers from Immaculate Heart High School so often posted. This stark absence has fueled widespread speculation. Was this gap year truly about globe-trotting, or was it a desperate, rushed attempt to conceal a wedding and its unforeseen consequences? An event that simply could not fit into the pristine image she would later meticulously craft. Reports have begun to suggest that if Meghan did indeed marry Joe Giuliano, a teenage acquaintance from Chicago, it was a ceremony far from the elaborate spectacle one might imagine, executed with an almost desperate need for discretion.
It's rather lofty to suggest the ability to align with, issues of womanhood and suffering, on the grounds that, and she did bring up the fact that, she went to Immaculate Heart.
Whispers from alleged insiders paint a vivid yet unsettling picture: a clandestine ceremony in a small, unassuming chapel tucked away from the dazzling lights of the Las Vegas Strip, attended by just two relatives. More disturbingly, the paperwork trail associated with this alleged union reportedly vanished almost overnight, unlike the thousands of other Vegas weddings that remain meticulously archived for decades. Clark County officials, when pressed, have maintained a steadfast refusal to either confirm or deny the existence of such records, a silence that only amplifies the burgeoning questions. This official stonewalling creates an inescapable contradiction. If this alleged event was merely a youthful indiscretion, a harmless teenage regret, why would the annulment records be sealed with such an impenetrable layer of secrecy? Why the apparent effort to erase it entirely from the annals of history? Fans online are now passionately arguing that this deliberate erasure points not to simple embarrassment, but to something far more substantial. A decision that absolutely needed to be buried because it directly clashed with the carefully constructed, unblemished image. Meghan was determined to cultivate for her future. By the summer of 1995, Meghan had seemingly pivoted, launching into her new life at Northwestern University, a strategic move that placed her geographically far from Los Angeles, even further from Las Vegas, and crucially miles away from the Giuliano family, whose own silence on the matter has now persisted for nearly 3 decades. Yet the profound questions linger, hanging heavy in the air. If Samantha Markle's claims hold any truth, then Meghan's much vaunted gap year was not merely a gentle transition from girlhood to womanhood. It was in fact the tumultuous year she became both a wife and a mother, only to then allegedly walk away from both of those profound identities. This startling possibility doesn't just chip away at her biography. It threatens to unravel the very foundation of a story millions once accepted as spotless, raising the chilling question: if the bedrock of her narrative cracks, what other carefully hidden truths might come tumbling down? The internet, as we've all learned, has an insatiable appetite for secrets, and it rarely allows them to remain buried forever.
Quietly.
And that they were empowered at Immaculate Heart by the nuns to be independent women. But wait a minute, who paid for Immaculate Heart? That was all my dad, so let's face it.
The moment Samantha Markle's incendiary claim began to ripple across the internet, the digital world sprang into action with its characteristic ferocity. Fans online, acting as an army of citizen detectives, immediately started pulling receipts, scrutinizing timelines, and digging through every available archive they could find. Within mere hours, hashtags like #Meghan's missing year and #Vegas wedding exploded across social media, trending globally. On TikTok, one particularly impactful creator masterfully stitched together photos of Meghan's high school graduation in June 1994, with her first widely known appearances at Northwestern University in 1995. Posing the deceptively simple, yet profoundly unsettling question in the caption, "Where was Meghan in between?" That single provocative query racked up an astonishing 2 million views in just one weekend, igniting a firestorm of discussion. Twitter threads became virtual war zones of speculation, with many users claiming that Clark County's steadfast refusal to release any annulment files felt less like standard procedure and more like irrefutable proof of something far more significant than a mere youthful mistake. The public, now ravenous for answers, launched into an unprecedented digital excavation, delving into old Las Vegas chapel archives, scouring property records, and even meticulously poring over Giuliano family genealogy sites. For Meghan's staunch supporters, this intense scrutiny was deeply uncomfortable. Many swiftly dismissed Samantha's comments as pure bitterness, pointing to her well-documented history of criticizing her sister. "This is just Samantha being Samantha," one loyal fan posted, trying to cash in on Meghan's fame as usual. But for a growing number of others, the unsettling strangeness of the missing year was impossible to ignore. In an age where even the most minor high school trips leave an indelible digital footprint, why was Meghan's alleged gap year so utterly, completely invisible? Media commentators quickly added fuel to the raging inferno. A prominent British tabloid ran a headline that was brutally blunt: "Did Meghan Markle hide a teenage marriage?" Meanwhile, American outlets, while initially more cautious, simply couldn't resist the irresistible hook. A morning talk show host quipped, with a nervous chuckle, "If Vegas vows don't stay in Vegas, what else comes out?" The laughter that followed was palpably uneasy, because even if unproven, the allegation tapped into a widespread public suspicion that had long simmered beneath the surface. Meghan's widely perceived tendency to meticulously control and craft her own narrative. And then inevitably came the memes, transforming the serious allegations into viral cultural commentary.
Raised in a vacuum. There are others who help us along the way, who support us, who love us, who bring us up, and who pay for everything that gives us that platform, which was our fathers. So
the internet's insatiable appetite for this unfolding drama quickly manifested in a torrent of viral memes and side-by-side photo comparisons. Images of Meghan's recently launched As Ever jam jars were juxtaposed with gritty screenshots of old Las Vegas neon wedding chapel signs, creating a jarring visual commentary. One particularly viral post wryly declared, "From Idol to As Ever, Meghan really brands everything, perfectly encapsulating the public's cynical take on her carefully managed image. Another brilliantly edited footage from The Hangover, implying that Meghan's infamous missing year was less about profound self-discovery and more about a conveniently forgotten, wild Vegas storyline that now threatened to resurface. The public's fascination wasn't merely a fleeting interest in Meghan herself. It tapped into the universal, timeless drama of personal reinvention and the sometimes uncomfortable truths that lie beneath meticulously crafted public personas. Debates raged across platforms. Was it truly fair to unearth and scrutinize a teenager's decisions 3 decades later? Yet every single debate, no matter its starting point, inevitably circled back to the same tantalizing cliffhanger. If there was absolutely no truth to these claims, why not simply release the records and unequivocally prove it? Reports now suggest that Meghan's steadfast silence has only served to intensify the speculation, leaving fans to argue not about the specifics of what might have happened, but rather about the far more intriguing question of why she refuses to directly deny any of it. This potent tension between official silence and rampant speculation has birthed a storm far larger and more intense than Samantha's initial solitary accusation. What began as a bitter sister's claim has now spiraled into a full-fledged, crowd-sourced internet investigation, with ordinary people across the globe convinced they possess the collective power to finally crack open the mystery of Meghan's hidden year. And the more this captivating story spread, the more it felt chillingly inevitable that an insider, someone with first-hand knowledge, would eventually step forward to break the wall of silence. The true seismic shock, however, did not originate from the digital clamor of online fans. It erupted when hushed whispers from deep within the alleged Giuliano circle began to surface. According to a well-connected Chicago-based commentator, relatives reportedly recalled attending a small, unassuming ceremony in Las Vegas way back in 1994. Their accounts, devoid of sensationalism or histrionics, were instead quiet, remarkably consistent, and profoundly unsettling. One relative allegedly described the event simply as over in half an hour. No photos, no fuss, painting a picture of a rushed, almost clandestine affair. Another is said to have chillingly whispered years later, "She was Meghan's before she was ours," a cryptic phrase that suggested a deeper, more personal connection than any public narrative ever allowed. For those meticulously tracing the timeline, these quiet words carried immense weight, not because they offered irrefutable proof for a court of law, but because they so perfectly aligned with the existing inexplicable gaps in Meghan's official story. Her sudden, seemingly fresh start with a move from Los Angeles to Northwestern University now appeared less like a natural progression and more like a carefully constructed escape, a strategic relocation designed to put distance between herself and a hidden past. Commentators began to speculate intensely. Was the alleged Chicago connection between Meghan and Joe Giuliano the very reason she chose Northwestern in the first place, seeking proximity to a secret or perhaps a support system? Reports suggest that Joe Giuliano remained deeply tied to the Chicago area, his family firmly rooted within the city's prominent Italian-American community. Meanwhile, British tabloids, never ones to shy away from scandal, doubled down on the narrative. One particularly aggressive outlet claimed to have spoken to a former Giuliano neighbor who vividly remembered a baby girl entering the household in 1995. "We never knew whose child she was," the neighbor allegedly stated, "but we were told she belonged to family." The striking absence of any official paperwork, no adoption filings, no custody cases, nothing in the public record, only served to make the story all the more bizarre and compelling. Media commentators were quick to point out that this kind of informal arrangement, where a child is raised within a family without legal documentation, often leaves no paper trail, but instead a rich and enduring oral history passed down through generations. In the United States, media critics began drawing uncomfortable parallels to other towering Hollywood figures whose early lives carried their own sealed, enigmatic chapters. One popular podcast host referenced the long-protected, persistent rumors surrounding Beyoncé's alleged first marriage, while another commentator compared Meghan's situation to Britney Spears' famously secret, brief annulment in Las Vegas. The underlying message was starkly clear: celebrity reinvention, particularly on such a grand scale, often necessitates a deliberate act of erasure, and Meghan's case, with its missing year and sealed records, fit that mold with an uncomfortably precise fit. Even seasoned legal experts weighed in, adding significant gravity to the discussion. A Nevada attorney, speaking on a widely viewed live stream, meticulously explained that annulment records are almost never sealed unless minors are directly involved, or unless one party explicitly petitions for privacy under truly extraordinary and compelling circumstances. The attorney then delivered a chilling pronouncement. If the record is sealed, it wasn't by accident. Someone wanted it buried. Fans immediately clipped that pivotal moment, reposting it virally across every conceivable platform, often with provocative captions that echoed the public's growing suspicion. So what was Meghan hiding? At the swirling epicenter of this escalating storm, Meghan Markle maintained an unwavering, absolute silence. No interviews, no official statements, no direct denials. And her resolute silence, far from quelling the rumors, only served to create an expansive void, allowing insiders or alleged insiders even more room to step forward and fill the narrative gaps. Reports began to suggest that members of the jewel